Snap your fingers, snap them. World of Israel. Snap your fingers, snap them. You say that you love him, but you won't even keep his scars to save your life. You say that you need him, but when problems arise, you try to solve it your way. You say that you wanna go back with him. I know that that's a fact, but what is the use when you won't serve him? I advise you to serve the Lord right now. The Most High is the best, best, best. Ain't nobody greater. He'll help you through your test, test, test. Ain't nobody greater. He's your God, oh yes. When problems knock you down, so please, please just remember this. Ain't nobody greater. You say that there's nothing wrong with God's laws. You say that there's nothing wrong. And nothing bad will happen to you. But don't you know if you don't repent? But don't you know you're gonna die? But don't you know you're gonna die? But don't you know you're gonna die? But don't you know? But if you repent, but don't you know to save your life? But don't you know you're gonna die? The Most High is the best, best, best. Ain't nobody greater. He'll help you through your test, test, test. Ain't nobody greater. He's Lord God, oh yes. When problems knock you down, when it gets hard, so please, please just remember this. Ain't nobody greater. Sometimes in our lives we will make mistakes, but you gotta pray. He who overcomes will inherit all things. God says, for all have sinned and have fallen short of the glory of God. God searches the heart, and He searched the mind. He treats you as you are, and not what you pretend to be. The Most High is the best, best, best. Ain't nobody greater. Through your test, test, test. Ain't nobody greater. He's Lord God, oh yes. When problems knock you down, He won't let you get down. So please, please just remember this. Ain't nobody greater. Ain't nobody greater. Ain't nobody greater.
Good morning, Facebook Live. Good morning, Breaking Strongholds Ministries. Good morning, YouTube with Orlando keeping it simple. How's everybody doing this morning? Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. I hope the Most High have truly blessed you over and abundantly with love, kindness, and joy. I hope the Most High really have truly blessed you over and abundantly. With wisdom and knowledge and understanding. I hope He has really truly blessed you over with everything your heart desire. I hope He really truly have. I hope He really truly has really blessed you. I hope He blessed your offsprings with wisdom and knowledge and understanding. I hope He has blessed them with protection and love and kindness. I hope He truly has blessed them. There's a lot going on in the world today. It's a lot going on. My heart is kind of heavy today. it's heavy because of so many things that's going on in the world, and we're being attacked on so many different levels, and it's frightening, but it's frightening to a certain extent, but it makes you angry in another extent. My week has been okay. It is what it is. But let us go ahead and get started on Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. I'm gonna put a lot of news articles in my on my YouTube page today. So if you all want to read the newspaper articles that I may give out today, you may want to go to you may want to go to my YouTube channel and Google those articles. Or look at those articles. I'm gonna put them on my YouTube channel. Let us go ahead and read Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. And it reads, "And El spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah thy El, which have brought thee under out of the house of bondage, out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And thou shalt have no other Els before me. And thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah thy El, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuwah thy El in vain, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy El. In it thou shalt not do any works, thou, nor thy sons, nor thy daughters, thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore if Yahuwah bless the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy fathers and thy mothers, that thy days be long upon the land which Yahuwah thy El giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbors. And thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservants, nor his maidservants, nor his ox, his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's." So let us pray. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine to your kingdom, power to your glory, forever and ever. So let it be. Amen, amen, amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom. If you could turn to the book of Deuteronomy. Turn to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. Verses 48 through 60. Verses 48 through 60. But the key verse is verse 68. Key verse is verse 68. But I'm going to be dealing with verses 48 through 60. But the key verse is 68. The last verse in that chapter. The last verse in that chapter. And that is verse 68. It's heavy today on me. It really, after me doing the research and reading and all of this, man, it's really heavy on me today, because this is some horrific stuff. Verse 68 in Deuteronomy 28. It reads, and Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt again. The word Egypt is a physical landmass, but it's also a condition. It means bondage. Okay? Shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. And thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Understand this right here. Understand that is a condition. That's a conditional verse. That means that that's a condition that the people will be in. It's a way on how they will be in bondage and who they will be bondage to. You will go in bondage on ships. You will be in bondage to your enemies. And what you will be in bondage is slave man and slave woman. That's a conditional verse. It's telling you your conditions. That is telling you, and that's a prophecy. That is a future event that will happen to you. Okay? But I also want us to understand Job 9 and 24. Let us go to Job 9 and 24. Not Job, but Job. Job 9 and 24. Understand this. Just like in Ephesians 6 and 12 it says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and darkness. And I'm paraphrasing, and wickedness in high places. Understand that. So Job 9 and 24 is saying somewhat similar to what Ephesians 6 and 9 said. It's Ephesians 6 and 12 said. Job is saying in 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covered the face of the judges thereof. If not, where? And who is he? The main part in this verse is the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Ephesians 6 and 12 is saying, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, against powers, and against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness. The actions, the ness on that is the actions of the wicked in high places. So both of them are saying the same thing. We're dealing with the wickedness of the world. Who are the wicked, the evil people that is running the world at this time? We got to understand that. Okay, so my words for today. Let me go back to my key verse again. This is in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. It says, for Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt bondage again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. And thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. Understand that. Your enemies. Your enemies. For slave man and slave woman, and no man shall buy you. Okay. I have three definitions today. Three definitions today. The first one is enemy. Enemy is a 13th century word, which means an antagonist, an adversary. A private enemy is one who hates another and wishes him injury or an attempt to do him injury or harm, to gratify his own malice or ill will. A public enemy or foe is one who belongs to a nation or party at war with another. A one hateful towards and attempts on harming someone. That's what an enemy is. An enemy is an antagonist, an adversary. Like the devil is an enemy to the Most High. It is a private enemy, one who hates another and wishes him injury or attempt to do him injury to gratify his own malice or ill will. Understand that. What the enemy does. The enemy tried to intimidate, which is a mid-16th century word coming out of the etymology dictionary. The word intimidate means to make fearful, to inspire with fear, to dishearten, to humiliate, to degrade the great, intimidate the brave, and frighten and make afraid. Okay? Intimidate means to make fearful, to inspire with fear, to dishearten, to humiliate, degrade the great, intimidate the brave, to frighten, make afraid. Okay? And the next one is terror. Terror. Terror is a mid-18th century word. No, it's a 18th century word. Terror. Terror is a systematic use of fear as a policy. Dread, alarm, panic, object of fear, cause of alarm, violence, frighten, fear that antagonizes the body and the mind. Agitates. Fear is agitate the body and mind. Okay. So what the enemy does, it intimidates the person through terror. Understand that. When we're looking at the characteristics of an enemy is doing something to terrorize you through intimidation. Terrorize you through intimidation. That's how he gets you to be able, that's how he's able to control you. Okay? Your enemy intimidates you through terrorism. Basically. That's what your enemy does. Okay, so the title of the text today is You Are Living Amongst Your Enemies. That's the title of the text today. The title of the text today are You're Living Amongst Your Enemies. How you know that you have enemies? Because the Most High said it in Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 68. And Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt bondage again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. And thou shalt see it no more again, and ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So now, when we look at we look at the book of Deuteronomy, this is when Moses was given the children of Israel these commandments. If you do well, you will prosper. If you do the commandments, you will prosper. If you don't do the commandments, you won't prosper, and you'll go up under plagues and curses. And when you understand that if you do the commandments, you will be blessed, and you don't do the commandments, you won't be blessed. And see, the Most High been putting on my heart lately, the reason why, this is what he said to me this morning. This is what he said to me this morning. He says, when you say that you are not under the law of El, you do not have protection from the person or your enemies who made the laws. So you are a wild person. You are a prey. What the Most High was saying is, if you're not up under my laws and statutes and commandments, you don't have my protection. But if you are under my laws, statutes, and commandments, you are under my protection. See, the Most High has an obligation to protect you if you are doing his laws, statutes, and commandments. But if you're not under his laws, statutes, and commandments, he don't have no obligations to protect you from hurt, harm, or danger. Okay. Then he says, if you're not under the law, why do you, if you feel like the laws and statutes have been done away with, why do you get punished for breaking laws? Why do you have health problems? Why do you have money problems? Why do you have relationship problems? Why do you have family problems if you're not under a law anymore? That means that if you're not under a law, that means that everything should be going well with you. You should be able to do whatever you want to do it, how you want to do it, the way you want to do it, and you should still prosper. Nothing should be terrorizing you at this moment if the Most High have done away with the laws, statutes, and commandments. But if he's telling you that you are under a law and you're not doing the law, that means that you cannot be protected under the law. Because if the stop sign say 25 miles an hour and you say, well, I'm not doing what the law say do, and you break the speed limit and the police pulls you over, he's going to punish you for breaking a law because you are under a law living here in the United States of America. You are always under a law, whether you want to believe it or not, physically as well as spiritually. So the thing is, how did we get in the conditions that we're in today? Let us go up to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. And I'm going to basically deal with Deuteronomy today. I'm going to deal with those verses today. How did we get in the conditions that we're in today? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. And it reads, but it shall come to pass, this is what Moses was telling the children of Israel when they was in the wilderness. They came out of they was in the wilderness and they was getting ready to go, before they were getting ready to go to the promised land. He was right when they got out of over the Red Sea and they was in the wilderness. He said, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah thy El, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. See, Moses was telling the children of Israel that they're going to have to do the law, statutes, and commandments in order to be protected. That is why the Christian church is telling the Christians, no, you don't have to do the law, statutes, and commandments. Two reasons why he said that. Two reasons why the church said that. The two reasons why they said that is because when you look at the Christian church, it's considered to be a Gentile nation. And the Most High did not give the law, statutes, and commandments to the Gentiles. He only gave them to the Israelites. So no, the Gentiles or the Christian church is not under the law, statutes, and commandments. So that's why the Christian church tell the people, it's okay to eat pork. It's okay to go to church on Sunday. It's okay to do all these things. You don't have to go to church on the Sabbath, because the Christian church is not under the law, statutes, and commandments, because they are a church of Gentiles. So when you understand that you're going to the church of the Gentiles, no, the Most High did not never deal with the Gentiles. He only dealt with the children of Israel. So when you're looking at it from that viewpoint, that's number one. The Most High never dealt with the Christians or the Gentiles. He only dealt with the Israelites. And this curse and blessings right here in Deuteronomy 28 is only dealing with the children of Israel. So when the Gentiles say that they are not under the law, they are 100% right. They are 100% correct. When the Christian church say that they are not up under the law, statutes, and commandments, they are 100% correct, because Most High never gave them any law, statutes, and commandments. He only dealt with the children of Israel. Number two, the second reason why they tell you that you're not under the laws no more and the laws have been done away with is because of Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 15. Because if you can continue to entice someone to break the laws, statutes, and commandments, or to break the speed limit, they will continue to be punished for their injustice, for their breaking of the law. If you continue to tell your son, no, you don't have to obey the speed limit, but every time he turn around, he getting a speeding ticket, there's a conflict of there's something wrong with that picture. But he's saying, Dad, okay, if you telling me I don't have to obey the speed limit, but every time I turn around, the police officer is writing me a ticket. Which one is it now? See, what's the case in the black community is health problems, relationship problems, money problems, family problems. All these things that affects the family is because we're breaking the laws, statutes, and commandments. But when the Christian church tell majority of their congregations are black, and the black churches are telling their congregation that we don't have to obey the laws, statutes, and commandments, they are continuing to keep the people under punishment, under judgment, under curses, under the oppression of their enemies. But if they ever told the people that that they supposed to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments, that's when they can be protected. That's when their enemies won't have no jurisdiction over them. If the speed limit say 25 miles an hour and you're going 23, the police officer does not have a right to pull you over, because you're not breaking any laws, statutes, and commandments. You're actually following the laws, statutes, and commandments of the land. If you're following the laws, statutes, and commandments of the spiritual spiritual sense, you won't have high blood pressure. You won't have high heart disease. You won't have kidney problems. You won't have no health problems. You won't, if it says, you won't have no relationship problems with your brother, because he said to love thy brother as thyself. You won't have money problem, because you'll be walking in your spiritual and your physical purpose. And then you won't have no family problem, because it'll be it will be a divine order that you will be following in your household. And the Most High have to bless that household because you'll follow His laws, statutes, and commandments. But if you don't have no structure, you're not following no laws, statutes, and commandments, that means that you're disarray. You're in chaos, you're in commotion. You're up under the curses. So now when we go down to verse 48, right? Verse 48 deal with the conditions of the children of Israel, and he's telling the children of Israel, hey, in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, I told you, if you don't obey my blessings, my laws, statutes, and commandments and statutes, a lot of things going to come upon you. A lot of things going to come upon you. And this will be your conditions because of you breaking my laws, statutes, and commandments. Excuse me, too. You're breaking my laws, statutes, and commandments. Verse 48 in Deuteronomy 28. It says, and I'm going to deal with four situations in verse 48. I'm going to deal with 4 issues in Deuteronomy 48. It says, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies. We understand an enemy is an adversary, a person who wants to cause hurt, harm, and injury due to you. He wants to make sure that he hurts you in every kind of way possible. That's what an enemy is. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, your adversaries, a person who want to kill you, which Yahuwah shall sin against thee. You're going to be in hunger. The word hunger means famine, a physical hunger. And in thirst means a want. And in nakedness means shame. And in wants of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee. Understand that. Understand that. Let me read it over. He says, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahuwah shall sin against thee in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, and in all want of things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee. Let's deal with hunger. Okay? Let's go to the verse 38. When we're dealing with hunger, we're talking about the physical aspects of being hungry, wanting for food, water, and stuff like that, right? Okay, verse 38 it reads, thou shalt carry much seed unto the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Go down to verse 40. He's telling you, you're going to be able to go out there and plant a lot of food in your garden, and you're going to do a lot of work in trying to create food for yourself and your families. But the locust going to destroy it. The people going to destroy it. It's just like up in Tennessee this week, where the Ford plant just took over a black farmer's land to build a plant on that land. Up in Tennessee, Cleveland, Tennessee, Ford is getting ready to build a electric plant up there to build cars for SUVs up there in Cleveland, Tennessee. But how they got the land is they took it from a black farmer. Okay, in verse 40, it says, thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thy olive shall cast his fruit. Verse 42. All thy trees and fruits of thy land shall be the locust consumed. At some point in time in history, we had a lot of black farmers. And they was producing a lot of black fruits and vegetables for the United States. They started selling seeds to black farmers that did not produce any fruits. They was not able to, they started taking the black farmers' lands. They was not able to develop the land. That's just dealing with the hunger part. Research where Ford has just taken over a black farmer's land and going to use it for the electric SUV power plant up in Tennessee. Okay, when we're talking about thirst, thirst means want. Okay, let's go verse 33. Talking about the want, okay? The fruits of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always, so that thou shalt be so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thy eyes, which thou shalt see. That's talking about the ones, right? It says, for the fruits of thy land and all thy labor. Look at all the inventions that we created in the land. And who's benefiting from the inventions? That's when it comes down to want, the thirst of it, the wants. We created all this stuff, but now we don't even have an opportunity to be able to reap what we have sown in the land. Because the Most High have put us among our enemies. That's something that we got to understand. This is reality. What you see going on in the world today and what you see what's going on down there in Florida, what you see what's going on with the Supreme Court, all this stuff is real. Okay, shame and nakedness. Let's go to verse 30 through 32. Okay, verse 30 and 32. We just not going to be in hunger because we don't have no more black farmers. And I was just talking to this other farmer yesterday down there in Carrollton. He said, you know, a long time ago, it used to be like 10 to 15% of farmers in the United States. He said, do you know now it's only 2% farmers that's providing food for the whole United States? The United States is paying their farmers not to produce food. And he also told me, he said, well, I'm going to tell you something, young man. I never met you before, but I'm going to tell you something. The United States is going to have a shortage of food here in the near future. He said, I can't tell you it's going to be 10 years from now or next year. He said, but it's going to be worse than what happened 2 years ago. He said, we're going to have a famine in the land where there ain't going to be no food. And he said, I'm a farmer. I know. I deal with cattle every day. He said, this is my word to you. He said, I never met you before. I never seen you. He said, but I'm going to give you this wise thing. He said, start buying food. This happened yesterday. Okay? So when we deal with the nakedness is shame. Nakedness is shame, okay? Because we didn't obey the law, statutes, and commandments. We're not just going to be having famine in the land. We're not just going to have wants and desires because of what we have done. We're going to have shame. We're going to have shame. Let us go to verse 30 through 32. And it reads, and thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thy ox shall be slain before thy eyes. Thou shalt not eat thereof. Thy ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Listen to that. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all day long, and there shall be no might in thy hands. Human trafficking. Human trafficking makes over $150 million a year. 150 billion. It's either it's 100. I think it's 150 million. But go look at the movie Sounds of Freedom, because that's a two thing situation. It's letting you know the powers that be are using our young children in the slave market, in human trafficking. Human trafficking has become a very big industry right now. If any woman listening to me today, if you don't have mace or a stab pen or a weapon, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're not trying to learn how to defend yourself and you're a female type, you're setting yourself up for failure. You need to have mace, a stab pen, or a weapon, a gun. Because if you don't, you're being vulnerable. Also, let us go to verse 37. Because men, it's like when I was looking at that video yesterday with a young lady who go to verse 37 as I talk. As I was looking at the video of the family of the young lady who thought she was rescuing this 2-year, 3-year, 4-year-old little girl, she got captured by the human traffickers or the murderers or her enemies. She's got captured. And when I was looking at it, the family looked so distraught and shame and in disgust and hurt because what just happened to their daughter. And I pray to the Most High that He bring her back. But there are so many cases like this going on in the U.S. and all around the world where people are being human trafficked. And you cannot take this lightly. I worry every day. Not every day, but I worry because the simple fact, I think on it every day because this is some horrifying situations. And people are not taking it lightly. It's like yesterday I was talking to the Most High, and I said, Abba said, won't you just turn the lights off and just let everything go dark so that this won't happen no more? He said, if I turn the lights off, it'll be more human trafficking. Because more people don't have weapons to protect themselves. More people are not able to stand up against it. He said, so if I turn the lights off, it's going to be more human trafficking. It's going to be more killing. And I said, so what should I say? I said, what should I do? He said, the only thing you can do is just notify the people that this is happening. That's all he said I could do, is let you know, hey, what's going on in the world today. It's up to you to take heed to this. Human trafficking don't have no color to it. It don't have no gender. It's women out there human trafficking just like it men human trafficking. Women are setting up other women. Men are setting up other men. It's no gender in this situation. There's no class because the rich are using the poor to get what they need. And see, when I was looking at that video, the family was so messed up about the whole ordeal. Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall see, shall look and fare with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thy hands. And see, the parents were just on the news saying, please help us find our daughter. Please help us do this. It wasn't even no might in their hands. And see, let us go to 2 Thessalonians. Let us go to 2 Thessalonians. Chapter 2. See, because we've been told that we're not under the laws no more, and we can do whatever we want to do. We're not under the protection of Yahuwah. Okay? Understand that. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 7, it says, For the mysteries of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. Talking about Hashatan. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Yahuwah shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, or the Hashatan, with all power and signs and lying words, with all this deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of truth, that they might be saved. Listen. For this cause God sent them strong delusions, that they shall believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. See, when you tell people that they're not under the law, they having practices of unpleasantness. So when you have practices of unpleasantness, and you doing what the world say do, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fare with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hands. I'm talking about shame. Now, let us go in all wants of things. Let me go back to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Let me go to verse 48 again so I can read, let you know. Therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies, your adversaries, the people who's trying to kill you, who harm you, which Yahuwah shall send against thee. You're going to go in hunger, means famine. We just talked about that. The forward taking land. No more. There's no more farmers in the land. Okay. Shall send in hunger and thirst. You're going to want for things. You don't created all these inventions, but you're not able to make the money from the inventions. In shame. In nakedness, and nakedness means shame. And in all wants of things. Let's go to verse 29. Verse 29. Thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind grope in darkness. You're going to be looking, trying to find your way, and thou shalt not prosper in all thy ways. Thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. You're going to be trying to find your way through the world, and you're going to only be continuing to be oppressed in this world. Oppressed in every area of your life. Let us go to 43 through 45. Then it reads, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Okay. Look at your job situations. Look at affirmative action situations. Look at opportunities that when you try to go get a bank loan, you get the highest interest rate and everybody else get the lowest interest rate. Let's look at redlining. Okay, redlining. Redlining, okay, let's look at it and see what... Redlining is a discriminatory practice in which services are withheld from the potential customer who reside in neighborhoods classified as hazardous to investments. These neighborhoods have significant numbers of racial and ethnic minorities and low-income residents. See, residents, it drives a engine at or above it starts. Okay, redlining is refuse loans to someone because they live in an area deemed to be a poor financial risk. All black communities are considered, black people are considered to be redlined and isolated, so they do not want to give you an opportunity to have a house. Because you can buy a house in 2023 for $200,000. In 2027, you can probably turn around and sell that house for $325,000 and make $25,000 out for it. But because they're redlining you, and they don't want you to buy a house because they understand that homes are a beginning of financial wealth, they redline you so that you cannot start the beginning of financial wealth. Verse 44. He shall lend to thee high interest rates, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. You the blue collar workers, and they're the office managers. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahuwah thy El, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he command thee. He said, because you're not doing my word, I can't give you protection. Just like a father tell you, man, I told you not to do that, but you did it anyway. That's what you get. If you'd have listened to me, it wouldn't have happened. Because you didn't listen to me, that's the reason why it happened. That is your condition because of your enemies. Now let's see the characteristics of the enemy. Let's go down to verse 49. It says, Yahuwah shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the flieth eagle, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. Listen to that. The eagle. The eagle is on your dollar bill. That is a symbolization of the United States. Okay, it says that what the eagle symbolizes. It says President John F. Kennedy wrote to the society, the founding fathers made an appropriate choice when they selected the bald eagle as the emblem of the nations of the nation. The fierce beauty and proud independence of this great bird symbolize the strength and freedom of America. So when you look at, when they're talking about the eagle, swift as an eagle, it's a symbolic symbol of a nation which represents strength, speed, security, and care, which also represents the United States, because the bald eagle is on your dollar bill. Okay. So this eagle, in verse 34, in verse 50 says, a nation of fierce countenance which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. I just read a CNN article where this business out of Georgia is trying to go down to Hilton Head, South Carolina, and take this lady land because they want to use her land as investment property. They want to build some homes on that land, so they're going to try to go take her land from her because of they see that they can take it from her. They don't care if she's 93 years old. They don't care what they want to put on the streets. They just want her land. This is an investment company out of Georgia. Okay. I'm going to read you some stuff. This nation. Let me just go ahead and go through some stuff. Okay. What the Tulsa Race Riot Massacre destroyed. Okay, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, I'm just going to read something. Imagine a community of great possibilities prosper, built by black people for black people. Places to work, places to live, places to learn and shop and play, places to worship. Now imagine it being ravaged by flame. In May of 1921, the Tulsa, Oklahoma neighborhood of Greenwood was a fully realized antidote to a racial oppression of the times. Built in the early part of the century in a northern pocket of the city, it was a thriving community of commerce and family life to its roughly 10,000 residents. Bricks and wood frame homes dotted the landscape along with blocks lined with grocery stores, hotels, nightclubs, ballot halls, theaters, doctors' offices, and churches, and also banks. Greenwood was so promising, so vibrant that it became home to what was known as American Black Wall Street. But what took years to build was erased in less than 24 hours by racial violence, sending the dead into a mass grave and forever altering family trees. Hundreds of Greenwood residents were brutally killed, their homes and business wiped out. They were casualties of fierce and heavily armed white mob of looters and arsonists. One factor that drove the violence, resentment towards black prosperity found in blocks after blocks of Greenwood. Let me read that over. Resentment towards the black prosperity found in blocks after blocks of Greenwood. The financial toll of the massacre is evident in the 1.8 million in property loss claims, 27 million in today's dollars. detailed in a 2001 State Commission report. For 2 decades, the report has been one of the most comprehensive accounts to reveal the horrific details of the massacre, among the worst racial terror attacks in the nation's history, as well as other governmental compatibilities. Okay, also let me read another one. Red Summer. Red Summer. Greenwood, the Tulsa, Oklahoma actually started because this European lady said that this young 14-year-old kid tried to rape her on an elevator, which was a lie. But they hated the people over there in Greenwood because the simple fact is they was prospering better than their counterpart. So they used it as an excuse as a 14-year-old kid to go kill him so that they could be able to go get the land from the people. They just didn't get the land. They took the money out the banks. They just didn't go do that. They took the people furniture. They did a whole bunch of stuff to these people because of just the simple fact is that they were prospering. Okay, Red Summer started from 1919 to 1929. These are actions that your enemies do to you. Racial violence and Red Summer. The earlier 20th century witnessed migration of hundreds of thousands of African Americans from the South to the Northeast, Midwest, and West. One of the main causes for this mass migration was the continual racial violence, including lynching and racial massacres that target Southern black people, as well as the return of the KKK, a white supremacist terrorist organization that first appeared shortly after the Civil War, around 1920. This period was part of what Rayford Logan termed the African American history of, I don't know how to, NORAD of African American history that began with the collapse of the Reconstruction in 1877. During this period, the political and legal gain won by African Americans during Reconstruction was dismantled, particularly by denying African Americans their voting rights and legalizing racial segregation, most notably in the 1896 Supreme Court decision, which made racial segregation legal until 1954. In addition to those suffering these political and legal injustices, thousands of African Americans was hung, burned to death, shot to death, tortured, mutilated, and castrated by white mobs who almost never were prosecuted for their crimes. One of the leaders in the fight against lynching was Ida B. Wells. Okay? Red Summer was a pattern of white on black violence that occurred in 1919 throughout the United States. The post-World War I period was marked by a spike in racial violence, much of it directed towards African American veterans returning from Europe, where they were often treated much better there than white America, despite their brave service to the country. The bloodiest incident occurred in Arkansas, where it is estimated that over 100 African Americans was killed. The racial violence of the Red Summer erupted in many other southern locations as well as in the north, most notably in Chicago. The presence of racial hostility in North was partly a reaction of the northern whites to a large influx of African Americans in northern cities during the Great Migration, though this hostility did not prevent large number of African Americans from heading north. Let me read you another one. See, we got to understand something. The CIA Contra crack cocaine controversy. Okay. Is this too much? Is this too much? Okay, I'm gonna read this. I'm just gonna say this. It's an article out here saying that the CIA has played a major role in crack cocaine coming into the African American community. That's what it's saying. And it's saying that because it's simple. It's saying that because they was fighting. they used crack cocaine to come into the black community so that they could be able to help fight a sponsored war in Nicaragua. Okay, it says on August the 18th, 1996, the San Juan Mercury News published the first installment of three-part series of articles concerning crack cocaine. The Central Intelligence Agency and the Nicaraguan Contra Army. For the better part of a decade, a San Francisco Bay drug ring sold tons of cocaine to the Crips and Blood street gangs of Los Angeles and funneled millions in drug profits to a Latin American guerrilla army ran by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. This drug network opened up the first pipeline between Colombia cocaine cartels and the black neighborhoods of Los Angeles, a city known as the crack capital of the world. The cocaine that flooded and helped spark crack explosion in urban America and provided the cash and connection needed for the LA gangs to buy automatic weapons. A 3-day series of articles entitled Dark Alliance, the story behind the crack explosions, told the story of a Los Angeles drug operation ran by Ricky Ross, described sympathetically as a disillusioned 19-year-old who, at dawn of the 1980s, found himself adrift on the streets of South Central Los Angeles. The Dark Alliance series reconnected how Ross began peddling small quantities of cocaine in the early 1990s and rapidly grew into one of the largest cocaine dealers in Southern California until he was convicted of federal drug trafficking charges in March of 1996. The series claimed that Ross' rise in the drug world was made possible by Oscar Bladen and Norman Menzies, two individuals with ties to the Nicaraguan FDN, or one group compromising the Nicaraguan cartel and the CIA. Stories have previously been written about the cartel alleged ties to drug trafficking, but this is basically telling you how the drugs got into the African American community. It was through the CIA. So when you look at this bald eagle nation, it's a symbol of the symbol is an eagle. And it has the speed, the strength, security, and care. That's the element. And it came to destroy the people. It came to destroy the people in hunger and thirst and nakedness, to put the people in hunger and thirst and nakedness and in all wants of things. Okay, in verse 51, they just didn't care. They don't care about the young or the old. Because what happened, Jalen Hurts, a young man, got shot 51 times. Jalen Hurts got shot 51 times up there in, I think, Cincinnati, Ohio, by the police department. They shot him 51 times in the back. And they did not care not one time about this guy running away from him. In 1985, the United States dropped bombs on May the 13th on a black liberation movement because they were trying to just get their freedom. So in chapter 28, verse 51, it said, "He shall eat the fruits of thy cattle and the fruits of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee neither corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kin, or flocks of thy sheep, until he has destroyed thee." This is what your enemy is trying to do to you. "He shall eat the fruits of thy cattle and the fruits of thy land until thou be destroyed,
which also shall not leave thee neither corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kin, or flocks of thy sheep, until he has destroyed thee. He shall besiege, he shall afflict thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trust throughout all the land. He shall afflict. Besiege means afflict. Surround. Afflicts means besiege. It means, besiege means affliction or distress. The word besiege means to distress or afflict. And he shall afflict thee in all thy gates until the high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trust throughout all the land. He shall afflict thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which Yahuwah thy El has given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruits of thy own body, the fruits, the flesh of thy sons and daughters, which Yahuwah thy El giveth thee, in siege and in the straightness. The word siege and straightness, what it means, hold on. The word siege means, okay, and thou shalt eat the fruits of thy own body, the flesh of thy sons and thy daughters, which Yahuwah thy El has given thee, in the afflictions and in the confinements wherewith thy enemies shall distress thee. The word siege means afflictions. The word straightness means confinement, which Yahuwah thy El have given thee, in the afflictions and in the confinements wherein thy enemy shall distress thee. He said he's gonna continue to afflict you in your place of living, so that the man that is tender, soft among you, and very weak, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosoms, towards the remnant of his children which he shall leave. Listen to that. Talking about divorce, high divorce rates in the community. So that man that is tender means weak among you, and very delicate means soft. His eyes shall be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosoms, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Because of the oppression is so great, it gonna make man want to leave his own family, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he has nothing left in him in the afflictions and in the confinements, wherewith thy enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. Every time I turn around on TikTok, that's all I see is people being afflicted, oppressed, and terrorized. Nothing good coming out of the situation. The weak and soft women among you, which will not adventure to set the sole of her feet upon the ground of the delicateness and the tenderness, her eyes shall be evil towards the husband of her bosoms, and towards her son, and towards her daughter, and towards her young ones that come out from between her feet, and towards her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for wants of all things, securely in the afflictions and confinement wherewith thy enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. You want to know why the children are the way they are today? Because the husband and the wife were so weak they left their children to fend for themselves. And we blaming the children for what they did. The people cannot even stand up and stay together to try to help their families out. So when we look at our kids today, listen to this.
For she shall eat them for want of all things, secretly in the afflictions and confinements wherewith thy enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. The mother and the father are going to leave the children because they can't handle the situation. And let the children raise themselves because the parents could not handle the situation that was going on. Do y'all understand that? I was at the gun store the other day and I saw some little young brothers. They had these guns, man. They were just going crazy with it. Because they feel like the young kids nowadays, they develop these street gangs because they don't have no parents at home to raise them. But we're looking at the kids as if it's their problem. But it's not actually their problem, but it is their problem. But it's the problem because the mother and father don't left them to fend for themselves. Why? It says in verse 57, and towards her young one that cometh out from between her legs, and towards her children which she bare, for she shall eat them for want of all things, secretly in the afflictions and strait in the confinements. The word eat means to utilize them for whatever she want to utilize them for. Either she going to eat them fleshfully or she going to eat them spiritually. She going to use them for whatever she wants. And see, we don't even understand that. My wife told me this week, she said, baby, I don't see a lot of pregnant women no more. I don't see a lot of pregnant women no more. The reason why you don't see a lot of pregnant women no more because men and women are not getting together, because the enemies have set the women against the men and the men against the women, but we can't logically see that. We continue to buy the bait or eat the bait that the enemy puts out here against us. I'm going to tell you something. In the movie Sounds of Freedom, the reason why the people got caught is because of their appetite or greed for money. The reason why our families be destroyed, it goes back to verse 48. The reason why our relationships go to be destroyed, our health be destroyed. It says, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahuwah shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in wants of all things. See, the reason why the people that got caught and put in prison in the Sound of Freedom is because they was loving that money so much they was willing to take a chance and get caught. The reason why we're in the conditions that we're in today is because we continue to bite the apple. We continue to get caught up in our own appetite, which is greed or wants for all things. And if only we understood that if we develop critical thinking, just ask 7 questions. Why, and why, you'll come down to the solution. You'll come down to the real reason of the problem. But because we don't have critical thinking, when we don't ask those 7 questions, which is why, 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 and why, we can't come down to the problem. But I'm going to tell you the reason why we're in the condition that we're in want of all things. That is the reason why you have men against women, women against men. That's the reason why you don't have men and women out here that's having children. That's the reason why families are all up in disarray. That's the reason why you got families destroyed. You got a reason why that all this other stuff is going on. These young kids raising themselves. That's the reason why they probably in human trafficking, because they in want of all things. So they don't care if they got to go sell somebody to make some money. Because if they got to go sell somebody to make some money, they're gonna do it because they in want of all things. Like my wife said this morning, you'll never know what nobody's situation is to make somebody do what they do. Yeah, because they in want of all things. And our enemies have made us be this way in want of all things, so we'll be willing to do whatever we got to do to get it. Verse 58. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that is written in this book, that thou may fear this glorious and fearful name, Yahuwah means Yahweh, then Yahuwah will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues of long continuance, and sore sickness of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the disease of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave to thee. I want to give you 4 verses. Because if we understand our conditions, and we understand our enemy, who our enemy is, from enslavement to mass incarceration, if we understand that, we understand everything that comes along with it, we have to be more, we got to be more wise in our decision-making process. That's those 7 whys. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 10. Listen to this. Because you got to understand that you're amongst your enemies. We're living amongst our enemies. And understand the position that they're in, and understand the position we're in. In Matthew chapter 10 verse 16 it says, Behold, I will send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, and harmless as doves. But also, on the contrary, be aware of men, for they will deliver you up to the council, and they shall scourge you in their synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, and for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. For a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But the key word is, be ye therefore wise as serpents. What does the word wise mean? Wise means having knowledge, having the power of discerning and judging correctly, of discriminating between what is true and what is false, between what is fit and proper and what is improper. Okay? We have to be able to make a decision from the experiences that we have and the evidence and the knowledge that we have. We got to be able to make proper decisions. Why is they making men turn against women? Why are they making women turn against men? Why are they doing all this? We got to be wise right now. 1 Corinthians 14 and 20. It says, brethren, be not children in understanding. Howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men. He said, you can't be children in understanding. You got to be grown folks in understanding. The word understanding means to have an adequate idea of, or to comprehend, to know. Okay, it says to have the same ideas as the person who speaks, or the ideas which a person intends to communicate. In this time here, we understand that we are under our enemies and they put us in these conditions. We got to be wise and understand everything that's going on so that we can make better decisions. Because if we don't, we're going to continue to be in the same situation. Do we understand that? Because if we're not wise or conscious about everything that's going on around us, and understand that the hand's been given into the hand, the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked, we're gonna be in trouble. You gotta move. You gotta do what? You gotta do what's right. It's so much stuff I have that I could have gave, but I'm just gonna put it on my YouTube page. You get a chance, go check it out. But understand this: you are living amongst your enemies, and be wise. Understand that, because your enemies are terrorizing you and intimidating you. So you got to be very wise in everything that you do. So Father, as we come to you today, we thank you, we bless you, we praise you, we give you all the honor and the glory. Father, we just thank you for everything you're doing and how you're doing it. We just ask that you continue to let us see the way you want us to see, hear the way you want us to hear, and speak the way you want us to speak, Father. Continue to let us walk as Abraham, your son, through faith. Daniel as a warrior. Solomon through wisdom. Your prophets through the prophecy. Let us become prophets through seeing your vision and prophets. Becoming one like the word, your son Yeshua. And let us be able to continue to walk through faith like the sisters. Ruth. Let us just be able to walk the way they walk. Let us continue to do the way you want us to do, and protect us and lead us and guide us. In your higher name we pray, so let it be. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Y'all have a blessed one. Go check out the rest of the articles on my YouTube page.
More life and more blessings. Rise up and give thanks and stop stressing. More life and more blessings. Rise up and give thanks and stop stressing. thanks and stop stressing. We don't take no L's, we take lessons. They can't stop our vibe, we keep them guessing. I used to be depressed, my G. Felt like a waste man, like Mr. Bean. Hearing voices, demons troubling me, but then I had to rise up, I had to get myself clean. 5 years later, now I'm feeling so free. 1 year now in the music scene. I networked and I showed my worth, and now 1 year on 500,000 streams. Bookeye, one good vibes, best Bookeye. All praises to the Most High, make me feel so fly. No bad vibes, no bad vibes, everything's blessed over this side. More life and more blessings, rise up and give thanks and stop stressing. More life and more blessings, rise up and give thanks and stop stressing. More life and more blessings, rise up and give thanks and stop stressing. We don't take no